Welcome to this special edition of Broken Not Shattered. For all our audience who are in North America, good evening. For those in Asia, other parts of the world, and even the United Kingdom, we want to say welcome to this special edition. Sit tight. This is your host, Ike O. Broken Not Shattered. Hey guys, welcome to Broken Not Shattered with your host Ike. We just want to say a big welcome to the special edition. We are excited about today's show again, like we're always excited. Oh, last week, if you didn't watch last week's show, I'll urge you to go ahead and watch our podcast last week. It was a very deep story about life after that. I won't tell you the details. Go to Broken Not Shattered 6928 and you should be able to find that story. Today we have another super exciting story, and from a different background, a different culture, a different understanding of life that we want to share. What we try to do on this platform of ours is to inspire people, give a voice to the voiceless, give hope to the hopeless, and find ways to encourage folks wherever they are. My guest today is actually Chinese American, but she's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to BNS, Miss Shirley. Hey, Shirley, how you doing, girl?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm
Thank you
doing
for
great.
having me.
Thank you. It's a joy having you on this show today. I know it's going to be a super exciting time. There's a lot to talk about. Tell us about yourself. Where were you born? How were you raised?
Okay, so long story short, I was born and raised in China, and around the age of 12, I relocated. So let me put it this way. My mom decided to send me to school in London, in the UK. And when it was around 2018, that's when our whole family, including my mom, my brother, we relocated to Ghana in West
Oh,
Africa.
okay, got it.
So, however, around last year, that's when we decided to come back to America, and Atlanta is where we live.
Wow, good stuff. So you have you grew up in China and spent part of your life in the United Kingdom in England, and now your family stay in or your mom lives in Africa, Ghana. Am I correct?
Yes, my
So
mom.
so
My
so,
mom.
so, so you've actually lived in three different continents.
That is correct.
So
Yes.
what does that do for you? I know the joy of living in three different continents. Trust me. But what does that do for you as a young lady? I mean, you've lived in three parts of the world, very diverse cultures. How has that helped shape your life?
Well, I'd say definitely when I first went to London, it was eye-opening. I mean,
Why?
as a little girl who's never been, I mean, I've been traveling like ever since I was really young, around the world, but it's never really like I lived outside of China. So when I first relocated to London, the language, the culture, and everything was just so beyond me, and there was culture shock.
Hmm.
So it was a lot for me to take in.
Wow. And then how do you now handle the culture shock of London to the culture shock of Ghana?
Well, when it comes down to Ghana, everyone, them Ghanaians, they're really chill, they're calm. They move at, I would, well, I would say all of my Ghanaian friends don't get offended, but I would say Ghanaians, they're definitely more on like a slower side when it comes to, efficiency and productivity.
Mm.
So having to switch from such like the living pace in London just so fast.
Mhm.
Everything you want to get everything done within like as a snap of
Seconds.
fingers. Exactly. However, as soon as I got back to Ghana, and I don't know, it was just a huge culture shock for me.
Yeah, I think Ghanaians by default are very laid back. They take life easy. There's not a lot of pressure and stress. If you had tried Nigeria, I bet you have a different story. Those guys are like Boss Bunny on speed. So everyone's moving at a very fast pace in Nigeria. But I guess, like you said, in Ghana, it's a more easygoing, more laid back environment. China, I want to believe I haven't been, but I believe that place is more fast paced. Definitely, London is a very fast place. I was part of I was raised there, born and raised in the UK, so I understand how fast paced that part of the world can actually be. So you've got all these things going on. You got the Chinese there, you got the British there. Now you got the Ghanaian all mixed up, right? So who is Shirley? I mean, what happens with all this cultural diversity taking place in one's life? How is that shaping how you see the world?
Well, I say I had the privilege to, be around the world at a very young age, and this has definitely broadened my horizons. So, in terms of cultures, languages, as well as people. So, I would say being exposed to different culture at a young age has definitely helped me with understanding, understanding where everyone's coming from. So, for example, as I'm having a conversation with you, I know your background. It's going to be different from me having like a conversation with a native Chinese who's never, been out of the country before.
Right, right.
So, yeah, it definitely broadened my horizons. I would give it that.
So it's opened you up. You've gotten to see the world for what it really is, and that has brought a new level of perspective. So you're more empathetic to people. You seem to understand people from where they're coming from. I wish a lot of people could travel more. I always tell folks, just get a passport and get out, and just go see the world. Really, it's there for everyone to see. Sometimes I know there might be visa restrictions and immigration issues, but as much as you can, just travel, because the more you travel, the more exposed you get, the more enlightened you become. One of the things that has helped me as a person and has given me this diverse background, I can live in anywhere. I can live in the crack house and I can live in the White House. Just because of how adaptable I've become in life, living in different cultures and in different parts of the world, different continents. So I can relate to people very easily. I'm not afraid of being in the midst of people with diverse race than mine. So I just see everyone as the same, pretty much, despite your culture and your orientation. And I want to believe that that has also helped what you're saying. That has helped you see the world differently. Wow, Sherry, at this very young age, kudos to you. So now you've seen all that stuff. Where does it take you to? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years?
Well, I do want to major in economics, preferably on a pre-law track when I'm off to college
Did you
here in
say
America.
pre law?
Yes,
Okay.
pre-law.
Okay. Mhm.
So I'm looking at attending a law school after I graduate from undergrad, and maybe a lawyer. Who knows?
Wow. Well, you might make a great lawyer, and for the young girls who are from the same background with you or other backgrounds, I hope your story today would actually inspire them. When we come back, we're going to talk about parenting, which is why I wanted to bring you in so we can actually look at the diverse cultures and how people parent. I'll share some stories about how I got parented, if you want to know, and then how I have been able to parent my children, and then you will share some of your stories, and hopefully uh, that will be able to help someone. This is a Broken Not Shattered. My guest today from Atlanta, uh, Miss Shirley, who is going to talk to us in a few seconds when we come back about her own experience of growing up. Welcome back to Broken Not Shattered. Your host Ike, and my guest this evening is Shirley, who is actually in Atlanta. And Shirley being in Atlanta, but Shirley's actually Chinese American. Grew up in China, left there at the age of 12, and now moved to the United Kingdom. Tell us your life in London. Let's talk about that before we divert into parenting. How was London for you?
Um, well, it's been a while, and I would definitely say it's an interesting city. Don't even get me started on how horrible the weather is all the time. And now that I'm back in America, I would definitely choose America over the UK any day.
So were you schooling in London, and how long were you there for?
I was there, so I left China when I was around 12, 13-ish, moved to Ghana when I was 15. So I was in London for a good 3 years, if
Mm,
not two.
okay. And according to your story earlier on, you told me that there was a time in when you were in the UK, I want to believe, that there was a gap where you were not in school. Am I correct?
That gap
Tell
actually
us about that.
was in Ghana instead.
Well, Ghana. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about that gap and what happened during that gap.
Okay, so here's what happened. In Ghana, we were following the British curriculum because I was in a British education system back in London. So when I transferred school in Ghana, I enrolled in a school called Ghana International School, where they have IGCSEs and A levels, which is again under the British education system. So I was there for from my form 4, form 5, and after form 5, you are supposed to go into lower six, where you start your A levels.
That's correct. Mhm.
And so, guess what happened? COVID hit in
Oh,
2020. And
oh,
that's also the year when I got my IGCSE results. In the same September that I was supposed to go into lower six, that's when, the pandemic, the whole pandemic started, and the switch to online learning. My mom was not jacking it. She
re-
was not
ready
into
for it.
no.
Right.
So one day she put me over after dinner. She said, "Shelly, we need to talk." I was like, "Mom, sure, what's up?" And she said, "There is a decision that I would like to make. However, I cannot make this decision without you." So that's when she told me her plan to kind of like withdraw me from the school and to do something, practical. So in terms of when I say something practical, that is like, whether to help people, to do some volunteering during the whole
Right.
pandemic, or to gain some real business skill.
Hands-on skills. Right.
Exactly. And online learning, in a way, I don't see, I'm kind of biased just because I left school when the whole online learning trend started. But I would say online learning, no one's really learning. Let's just be honest.
Mm. So what happened? You was out of school for 2 years.
Oh yeah, so during these 2 years, I was volunteering again remotely with one of the local special schools. So I was helping a lot of kids with special needs with their online learning. So I was tutoring math, to be
Okay.
precise. And also at the same time, my mom, she had her clientele back in China and also in Ghana. So I was doing part-time translation for her, as well as, doing a lot of communications between Ghana and China. So that's when I also learned a lot of hands-on business
This
experience.
experience. Wow.
Exactly.
So you took advantage of that whole COVID thing, and the adversity of being out of school turned out to be a work experience for you because now you're learning. Your mom is into environmental um,
Yes, environmental protection.
protection, right? So, and she's expanded her business into Africa, and she's based in Ghana right now. Okay,
Yes.
so that gave you the experience to become more versatile. Now getting the hands-on experience as a very young girl. So you talked about the language. You were interpreting from your mom. How did you learn? to speak English fluently? I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just trying to get more insight.
When I was back in China, back in third grade, we were having quote unquote English classes. However, at the end of the day, it's all a bunch of Chinese kids hanging around you. So obviously, you was not speaking the language. I was really pushed out of my comfort zone when I got to London, where there was literally one Chinese kid in my class who does not even speak fluent Mandarin. So that's when I really had to, step outside of my comfort zone and really to speak some, again, quote to quote, real English.
So now you speak English, and so you speak English, you learn English, and you also understand Mandarin, right? Correct.
That is
So,
correct.
so with everything going on in the world now, and the diversity in cultures and people learning differently, what would you say the advantage is with you being able to speak both languages fluently, especially in today's world? How do you see that?
Well, to start with, I do feel like English is just such a word language, meaning that is the most commonly used language around the world. Maybe perhaps not in terms of how many people is speaking the language, because I know China has such a big population, so
Correct.
there are like millions, billions of people of speaking
Mhm.
Chinese. However, that's within China.
China. Right.
So if you really step out of the country, if you are like isolated in America and you don't know how to speak the language, no, it's not gonna work.
Right.
So being able to, understand, being bilingual, it's just easy. I mean, we also understand that there's like a significantly large amount of Chinese population within the United States.
That's correct.
So whenever I see someone speak Mandarin or say Chinese, I'll be able to communicate with them effortlessly.
Right. So okay. So say a few words to our audience in Mandarin, and then whatever you want to say, just say it in Mandarin, uh, and then in return, tell us what you just said. How easy is it to learn or speak the language?
我觉得学习英文和中文，压力，我，sorry，我觉得学习英文压力应该不会很大，主要还是你要把自己从你
Speak.
的舒适圈中要离开。
Yeah, we can. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Or so no, basically, I just said speaking English is not as hard as you think it is. You really have to. It already comes down to pushing yourself out of the comfort zone.
And how about speaking Mandarin? How is that?
Um,
Is that an easy language to learn?
oh yeah, for so when we say Chinese, it's actually two categories under Chinese. So first there is Mandarin, which is spoken by people mainly from the mainland China, and
Right.
also we have Cantonese, which is spoken by people who live in Hong Kong,
Okay.
Macau, and there's one more, Hong Kong, Macau. I'm so sorry, I just can't think of.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, go ahead. So the two different dialects.
Yes. Okay. Taiwan. Now I remember. Yes.
Okay, Taiwan. Okay, so they speak two different dialects. They're two different.
Yeah. I guess you could call it. Okay, not necessarily like a dialect, because again, China, just like United States, if you go into a city, there's like probably like 10 or 20 dialects within each city.
But they all
So
speak in English.
yes.
So this one is what? This one is English speaking
Oh,
or not English speaking?
what I just said was Mandarin because I'm from the mainland.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Wow. I mean, this I think language is very important. But one of the most important languages in the world is love. It's a universal language. And on that note, I'm going to try and move you away slightly from you to the issue of parenting. because which is what I want to talk about. Um, I know, for instance, that people raise their kids almost the same way they were raised, or in some cases, people raise their kids totally the opposite of how they were raised, depending on how they feel their parents were. I've learned how to find the balance between in raising my own children. I started at a very young age. I was a very hands-on dad. Glory to God for that. And my young daughters have turned out to be very lovely ladies, well behaved and well mannered. And I thank both parents, myself and their mother, for what they've done with them. However, I know that my parenting style and that of their mother is totally different. We don't agree on every single thing, but some things which are core values, we must agree on them, uh, based on how I was raised and how she was raised. Now, let's go back to you. Um, you were raised in China with Chinese parents, right?
That's correct.
And
Yes.
now you've grown to become this young lady who's become more independent. How has that diverse parenting impacted you?
Well, to start with, when I was back in China, um, my mom was always say the boss in the house. So if she says A, it cannot be B. That's how it has always been. So my mom personally, she has more or less always been trying to, I wouldn't say take control, but to, give me guidance. Well, if I don't know if I'm saying it like
You can say control if it's control. That's fine. That's all right.
well, I wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily.
but I understand. Yes, guidance. Correct. Mhm.
She was trying to provide me with guidance. She was trying to tell me what she believes is right, and also she had this expectation of who she wants me to be in the future instead of who I want to become in the future. So the dynamics between me and my mother has been, I would say, complicated, but then at the end of the day it's all love.
Right. So you're saying to me that there's the cultural uh, upbringing of your mom and the cultural upbringing of Shirley is every now and then clashing because it's who your mom wants you to be in the future versus who you want to be. At the end of the day, there are a lot of other young people listening to this program or watching it, and they're going to be asking the same question. So, who gets to win? Do you cave into becoming what your mom wants, or do you, at the end of the day, become who you want? When we come back, you will have your last word. Our guest this evening is Chinese American, uh, Miss Shirley, who's actually speaking from Atlanta. Shirley, we were talking about parenting, what you want versus what your parents want. Now, well, who do you think will have the upper hand at the end of the day? Is it you or is it your parents?
That is a great question because this is the question I'm still asking myself even till this day. Do I want to pursue what I want, or I want to take guidance from somebody who's lived in this world for almost 50 years, who obviously has more knowledge, not to mention how much, hands-on experience she's had. So at the end of the day, I would like to achieve like a sweet middle ground. So I would like to do something that I enjoy, whereas I also want to try and incorporate some of the stuff that my mom would like me to do. So instead of saying, "Oh, I will take 100% of the charge," or my mom like, have complete control over my life, I want it to be, if not 50-50, we could do a 60-40.
And so who gets the 60, who gets the 40?
Well, I get a 60 and she'll get a 40.
I think that's a fair deal. It's your life. Yes, your parents are there to guide you, but at the end of the day, it's who you are created in a very unique way. You're wonderfully and uniquely created by God, and so there is your mom and there is you. There is me and there's my own mom. There is me and there's my daughters, right? So everybody has come here through one channel or the other. And yes, it's a big important role in parenting, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you become who you want to become. What would you say? We've got 5 more minutes left for today's show. What would you say to any young person out there listening who's in the same place where you are, wondering, what do I do? My mom wants me to be this. Let's just say my mom wants me to be a lawyer and I want to be a dancer. So, what would you say to that young person?
Um, well, be the person that you want to become, but also take guidance from your parents. Just because they have lived in this world probably, you know, for the past 50, 60 years, and they know how the world works. However, don't let them take control of your lives. Believe that life is yours, it's not anybody else's. It's up to you to write your own chapters. You don't give the pen to anybody else to write it for you.
Wow. Well said. Shelly, thank you so much for coming to Broken Not Shattered. I know we're going to have you again pretty soon in another area. Some of the things we want to discuss with other young ladies, and I'll try to invite you in then. But for you to take out time just to help guide us through this diversity that we see in different cultures, I want to thank you for making out time this evening to come to Broken Not Shattered, and hopefully we'll get to see you sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Ike, for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is Miss Shirley on Broken Not Shattered. Wow. Now, for those of us who didn't watch it, you can go back and watch her later on when you have a minute. Um, like Shirley just said, it is your life. Don't let anyone take control of your life. Don't give anyone the pen to write your own chapters. Write your own chapters for yourself and leave your own legacy. However, honor your parents, respect them, show them love, show them kindness, and get the support you can get and guidance that you need to actually help you get to the next level based on their own experience. Um, I want to wrap up with these few words. I have been toiling all week on how best to communicate the language of relationships. It started about 2 months ago, and this week I've been wondering, why do people make relationships very complicated? And I came up with two words: ownership and relationship. There are two different things. Ownership and relationship are not the same thing. If you go into a relationship with someone, business relationship, romantic relationship, parent child relationship, friendship as two friends relationship, whatever the relationship is, always remember that the person you're going into the relationship is unique in their own way. You have no right whatsoever to move the relationship into a state of ownership. You do not own them, whether she's your husband, or whether she's your wife, or you are her husband, or he is your sister, or he is your brother, or you guys are classmates or schoolmates, or whatever it is. Even your business partners. He's a larger shareholder, and you are a lesser shareholder. You do not own the person. It is a relationship, and you have to relate to the person in the way that they can understand. And those are my final words of the day. Ownership is not what it is. It is a relationship, not ownership. Thank you for joining me today in Broken Not Shattered. Be mindful. Be mindful. Take care. And in our famous three words, love, grace, and peace. Until next week, hopefully I'll see you again on Broken Not Shattered. Please join us, follow us on our platforms, and join us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever we are. Subscribe, click on the notification button, and share this with a friend. Until then, take care.